So I had a bit of a challenge with Seirei Gari. The meaning of the title wasn't exactly clear, and wow, that was a fast transition away from the title screen. It felt like it cut off the music in the middle. The title Seirei Gari doesn't mean a whole lot in Japanese. So initially I was thinking it might have been somebody's name, but no, it's just a mashed together compound word. The story of the game is that while celebrating your girlfriend's birthday, a giant evil face shows up and abducts her. While you're recovering in the hospital, you meet a very non-suspicious guy who happens to know a lot about the situation, and he guides you toward mystical artifacts that you can use to recover your girlfriend. This is the first game that Hudson has published on the Famicom in over a year. In that time, they published 10 games on the PC Engine, so it's pretty obvious where they were putting their efforts. In the manual, Hudson describes Seirei Gari as a new genre of adventure game called novelware. To quote Hudson again, the game progresses as though you were turning the pages of a novel, and you're immersed in the world of adventure. So what makes it stand out from the regular adventure games that we've seen dozens of on the Famicom? Absolutely nothing. It is exactly the same. It's the same interface where you select a verb from a list, and then choose what you want to apply that verb to. Even the verb selection is the standard examine, talk, take, use. Occasionally there are mazes, but those are in far too many adventure games. Occasionally you have monsters to fight, but for almost all of them, you just have to use a particular item and then hit them. I did think this invisible monster where you could only see its shadow was kind of a neat idea. You have to come up with a way to make it visible before you can fight it. But with how restricted your options are, it's not difficult to figure out. Seirei Gari relies on my two least favorite things in these adventure games. Repeating the same action over and over again until you get a different result. And here it's especially bad, since you often don't have an indicator that you need to do it again. And the other thing is requiring that you search the environment first, even though the things that you'd want to interact with are very obvious in the graphics. It makes you out to be a bit of a dim bulb when you can't see the things that are right in front of you. This is also a pretty short adventure game. Now in fairness, I always follow a walkthrough for adventure games because I don't have enough time to poke around. But I got all the way to the ending of this one. Usually I have to stop a little bit after the halfway mark. So there's not a lot happening here, except a lot of wandering around in circles and backtracking. It really feels like they were trying to pad the game's length as much as they could. Hudson also boasted that the story was by Nakajima Wataru. Nakajima was responsible for some horror novels that nobody remembers. We're talking obscure enough that when I searched for the titles, I got back 3 images of the covers from Amazon, and that was it. If you need to save your progress as you play, you can hit select at any time to bring up the password. The password is very lengthy, long enough to make me wonder why they need to store that much since the game is so short. In Japan, Seirei Gari is barely remembered, and the few people who do mainly note that the story is incoherent and that they have no idea what the title means. Despite having some nice visual touches, I think I'd put Seirei Gari in the bottom half of the adventure games that we've seen on the Famicom. There's a lot of rough edges to this one, and not a whole lot of positives.